Aloha guys, it's Joe Tunney and I'm visiting my very good friends here at BMW of Hawaii in the beautiful city of Kona on the big island of Hawaii. And we're taking a look at a pretty thrilling car, an exciting car on the marketplace, the 2020 BMW Z4, which shares its platform with the all-new 2020 Toyota Supra. And I was sharing a story today here at BMW of Hawaii way back when I worked for Brian O'Neill. Brian O'Neill at Sports Cars International turned me from absolutely nothing into a top salesperson, and I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to Brian O'Neill. Before he passed, I reached out to him and asked his permission if I could share a story about working with him, and with his blessing, I publicized a very sad, painful, hurtful, and ultimately hilarious story about my life working for Brian O'Neill. And to learn a little bit more about me and that story, check out my Facebook page anytime and dig back into the Wayback Machine. It's a fascinating story about the car business in Seattle back in the old days. Well, that story became such a hit in the car market in Seattle particularly that I was asked by a great many people to do not one but two more essays like it. So there's actually three super duper funny stories, but they're very poignant stories as well about the early days of the car business and what it's like being a green salesperson working for a tyrannical madman, and what that world looks like from firsthand experience. But his general manager back then was a gentleman named Rob Schradel, and if you could imagine somebody who looked like a handsomer, taller, better looking version of Robert Redford, you can picture Rob Schradel. And Rob Schradel was just about the laziest general manager in the whole wide world, but I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to that man, because he shared with me that knowing specific facts about a car will change the way people see you when you're doing your presentations. It's not just a 911 Carrera each year. There's such a colossal difference between an 83 and an 84, and which year has the T50 transmission, and all that stuff was a foreign language to me until he made it sound so exciting that I shared it in an enthusiastic way with guests, and it completely changed my career. And I ended up learning everything about Corvettes. I learned everything about Camaros, engine sizes, everything you could think of, because Rob made it cool. He made it cool for me to be successful with customers. And although I started very humbly, by the end of my career I sold not 1,500 but 15,000 cars over my career, and I owe it all to Brian O'Neill and to Rob Schradel. And so when we're taking a look at the BMW Z4, let me tell you something. I absolutely love this car in a BMW, but I hate it in a Toyota Supra. Now you're going to see a link down below that's going to feature my video review of the original twin turbo Toyota Supra. That car is one of the most important cars in the history of the car business. Not just sports cars, not just import cars, but cars. It's such a big deal. It's such a big deal to Toyota. There's so much surrounding that car that makes it so critical. For BMW to make the all-new Toyota Supra is in a way unthinkable for Toyota. But for BMW, it's a heck of a car. Let's pop the hood and take a look why. Now, in the BMW, this car comes with two engine choices. In the Toyota, it comes with one. This one is the 2-liter. This is the B48 B20. So the B48 is the 4-cylinder engine in BMW's modular engine family. The B20 is 2 liters. Modular. What that means is that there are individual modules in the engine, and each one of those modules is a 500cc 1-cylinder engine. So if you put 4 of them in sequence, you have a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. The other option available on this car is the B58 B30. That would be the inline 6-cylinder and much more powerful than the 4-cylinder. This is 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. The 6-cylinder engine puts out almost 400 horsepower, so a big difference between the two. Now, if you look at the claimed horsepower between the Z4 and the Supra, you'll see that the Z4 is getting about 50 horsepower more than the Supra. The Supra is showing only 335 horsepower. That's actually not factually accurate. The Supra's engine is the same as the Z4's engine. It's every bit as fast as the Z4. It's not different than the Z4. It is the Z4. It's the exact same car as the Z4. The only difference, other than just some teeny tiny little tweaks in the suspension settings and tweaks in the visual look of the vehicle, which still look a lot like the Z4, other than that, it's exactly the exact same car. And I have a hard time believing that the head of Toyota goes to the Supra development division and says, listen, we have every platform in the world. We have every engine in the world. I want to bring back the Supra, and I want it to be the evolution of the old Supra. And between everybody in the entire Toyota division, not one person can come up with a plan where for $50 or $60 or $70,000, they could create an evolved Toyota Supra that could make some money for Toyota. For them to have to go to BMW and really steal the Z4, and I understand it's a professional relationship, but to take the exact car as the Z4 and call it the Toyota Supra is just an unbelievably poor choice on the part of Toyota. If it would have been called the Celica, whatever, they're bringing back the Celica name. The Celica was a cool car, but kind of selling out the Celica name, maybe not totally the end of the world. But to sell out the Supra name, again, totally unthinkable. And so, however, in the Z4, well, heck, this is an amazing BMW. You know, the original Z3 was one of the great small sports cars of this generation of sports cars since 1971, when smog emissions really came in full circle, what they call CAFE regulations, and cars went way down in horsepower. People look at the 70s, 80s, 90s and such as kind of the low point of cars. Boy, they're missing out on a lot of really sensational cars from that era, and one of them was the original Z3. When the Z4 came out, you know, I mean, it was a likable enough car. It's low and long and sleek. It had a really long front end and all of that. And so I don't know, it wasn't my favorite car in the whole wide world. But the new Z4 is super duper sexy. It's less than 52 inches tall. It's extra sleek. It doesn't have the pronounced features of the Z4, and it just has so much power. It's just an amazing car to drive too. Let's take a look inside. So 18 by 9 wheels in the front, 18 by 10 wheels in the back. So you're looking at 255 40 18 in the front, 275 275 40 18 in the back. And then you have that ZF 8HP automatic transmission. And so that darn transmission is in pretty much every single BMW these days, but it's also in pretty much every single Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, and every other high-end vehicle in the world. You also see it in vehicles like Chrysler's Hellcat series, because it's an actual high-performance transmission. It's a very strong and durable transmission. It returns excellent gas mileage. It shifts so fast that there's no possible way that you could shift with a manual transmission faster than this automatic transmission can shift. And it's not a double clutch or these highfalutin kind of transmissions that were all in vogue for a while and that BMW has gotten out of. It's faster than that, more durable than that, and less expensive to deal with over the long haul than that. This particular car is San Francisco red. It's sleek, it's sexy, it's low. It's got the big chunky steering wheel. It's got the nice stitching on the dash. Great layout. It's all the way BMW, and everything about it says very high-end small BMW sports car. Nothing about it says Toyota Supra. This car wasn't developed in conjunction with Toyota. Toyota didn't have input as to the final design, and Toyota didn't share any parts. This is the CLAR platform, the cluster architecture platform that BMW uses for everything from the Z4 all the way up to the X7. It doesn't have anything to do with Toyota. The modular engine series, that doesn't have anything to do with Toyota. The ZF transmission, they don't use the ZF transmission at Toyota. Toyota has their own transmission division called Aisin, Wonderful Transmission Company. But I would feel a little bit odd getting my BMW serviced over at the Toyota store, and I think that's a funky reality that a lot of people are going to have to get used to. If you go buy a Toyota Supra, you're just buying it for the name, period. You're going to all your friends and go, remember how awesome the old Supra was? Oh my God, it was the greatest car ever. Well, I got the new one. Oh, you got the one that's the BMW Z4. No, it's a Supra. It says it right on the back. Yeah, but it's just a BMW. Yeah, but Toyota, you know, it's a Toyota version of a BMW. No, it's not. It's not. It's just a BMW Z4. It's an amazing car, but if you're going to get a BMW Z4, why not just get the BMW and get BMW's 4-year warranty and get the service done at the BMW store? Why are you buying a BMW that says Toyota and then you're trying to service it at the Toyota store and they've never seen a BMW in their life? Does that sound like a smart choice? And for what? To say you have a car that used to be awesome in the old days, but this is a different version than that? It just doesn't make any sense. As awesome as a car this is, and it really is an awesome car, it just doesn't make any sense as a Toyota Supra. Let's jump in back. Now, one little niggling thing with BMW. So they call this the S-Drive, but it doesn't mean like it's an option. There isn't an alternative. It's either an S-Drive or an X-Drive. I wish they would just abandon the S-Drive name altogether. X-Drive makes sense because it's all-wheel drive. That's different than the normal one, but S-Drive sounds like something's going on and nothing's going on. It's just the regular one. Also, I don't like the way that they do 30i, because 30i sounds like this is a 3-liter fuel-injected engine. If you followed BMW since way back when, that's what that meant. And so it leads one to believe that the engine has more generous proportions than it really does, although it gets the economy of a smaller category car. And so you'll see the 40, which sounds like 4 liters, is actually 3, and the 30, which sounds like 3 liters, is actually 2. Just call it a 2.0 and a 3.0. Now, the trunk space on this is actually pretty good, 9.9 cubic feet, and so it is really spacious inside. For a small sports car, it actually does what it does very, very well. Taking a look around, it does have really fabulous lines. It does have really fabulous proportions. It is a really neat car. It's a really neat BMW. It's the evolution of a car that when it came out and it was in the James Bond movies, it was such a big deal, and it's still a big deal. But it's BMW's big deal, not Toyota's. I can't implore you enough. Don't make the wrong choice. If you're looking at the difference between a Toyota Supra and a BMW Z4, the differences between the two is that you should be buying the BMW Z4. Buying a BMW Z4 and putting Toyota and Supra in the back does not make it the new version of the former Toyota Supra, one of the great cars of all time. This is one of the great sports cars for the modern times, and if you're buying a Z4, buy it right here at the BMW dealership. And if you have any questions about the BMW Z4 or any BMW, please reach out to my friends at BMW of Hawaii. And if you have any questions of me, please don't hesitate to reach out at joeloveshawaii@gmail.com.